What would happen if you were swallowed by a whale? Imagine the scenario. Throughout history, tales like Jonah and the whale have captured our collective imagination, spinning stories of humans surviving in the belly of these gigantic creatures. But how much truth is there to these captivating tales? Could a person really be swallowed whole and live to tell the tale? While it sounds like the ultimate oceanic adventure, let's dive into why this scenario is more fiction than fact. To understand why a whale swallowing a human is highly unlikely, we first need to understand the anatomy of a whale. Whales, those magnificent leviathans of the deep, come in a variety of shapes and sizes, yet all share some common anatomical features that are crucial to understanding this question. Firstly, let's differentiate between the two main types of whales: toothed whales and baleen whales. Toothed whales, such as the sperm whale, possess teeth and are generally hunters, preying on fish, squid, and other marine animals. On the flip side, baleen whales, including the enormous blue whale, filter feed. They have baleen plates instead of teeth, which are used to sieve tiny prey, like krill, out of the water. Now, focusing on the size and structure of their mouths, it's fascinating to note how these adaptations suit their feeding habits. Toothed whales have larger, more flexible jaws which can open wide to grab their prey. However, their throats are not proportionally large. For instance, the sperm whale, one of the largest toothed whales, has a throat that is only about the size of a basketball, certainly not large enough to swallow a human. Moving to the giants among whales, the baleen whales, their approach to intake is quite different. Despite having mouths large enough to hold up to 90,000 gallons of water, the throat passages of these creatures, including the blue whale, are incredibly narrow. In fact, the throat of a blue whale is only about as wide as a small dinner plate. This is perfectly adequate for their diet of small aquatic creatures, but certainly not for anything larger. So, as intriguing as it sounds, the physical structure of whales tells a different story. The anatomical design of both toothed and baleen whales, with their specialized feeding mechanisms and surprisingly narrow throats, makes the idea of one of these creatures swallowing a human not only highly unlikely, but anatomically impossible. What do whales actually eat? Let's take a closer look at their diet. When we think of whales, we often imagine these colossal creatures gulping down enormous amounts of seawater and everything in it. However, the reality of what they consume is much more fascinating. Despite their massive size, most large whales, such as the blue whale and humpback whale, primarily feed on surprisingly small aquatic life like krill, plankton, and small fish. These giants of the ocean are equipped with a unique feeding mechanism that sets them apart from other marine predators. Baleen whales, for instance, do not have teeth. Instead, they have baleen plates, fringed comb-like structures made of keratin, the same material as human hair and nails. As a whale swims with its mouth open, water along with thousands of small organisms flows in. It then closes its mouth and expels the water, trapping the food on the inner side of the baleen, allowing the whale to swallow its meal. This method of filter feeding is incredibly efficient. It allows whales to consume up to 4 tons of krill in a single day. Imagine the sheer volume of tiny krill it takes to satisfy the appetite of such a huge creature. The diet of whales is meticulously aligned with their anatomical capabilities, ensuring they derive maximum nutrition with minimal effort. This is nature's way of sustaining these magnificent animals in the vast and competitive ocean environment. Clearly, humans are not on the menu for these ocean giants. The story of Jonah being swallowed by a giant fish has been told for centuries, but could it hold any truth? Diving into this ancient narrative, the tale describes Jonah being consumed by a gargantuan sea creature, often depicted as a whale in modern interpretations. To assess the feasibility of this story, let's explore the species that might fit the description. The two likely candidates are sperm whales and whale sharks, both capable of ingesting large objects. However, neither species could realistically swallow a human whole due to the size of their throats. Moreover, even if one were to be swallowed, survival inside a whale presents insurmountable challenges. The stomach of a whale is an environment devoid of breathable air, and the acidic gastric juices would pose immediate peril to any living creature. The absence of oxygen alone would render survival virtually impossible within minutes. Thus, when we scrutinize the conditions described in the tale of Jonah, the narrative does not align with biological and ecological realities. This tale, while profound, is likely a powerful metaphor rather than a historical event. Have there been any real incidents of humans being swallowed by whales? This intriguing question has captured the imagination of many, sparking curiosity and awe. Let's dive into the documented cases and the science behind these extraordinary claims. One of the most widely publicized incidents occurred in June 2021, when a lobster diver in Massachusetts claimed to have been briefly swallowed by a humpback whale. According to his account, he was diving when suddenly everything went dark and he felt a massive shove. The diver believed he was inside the whale for about 30 to 40 seconds before being expelled back into the ocean. Scientifically, this scenario raises several eyebrows. Firstly, the anatomy of a humpback whale isn't designed to swallow large objects. The throat of a humpback is relatively narrow, an adaptation suited to its diet of small fish and krill. Experts suggest that what may have happened in this instance was an accidental scooping during the whale's feeding process rather than an actual swallowing. Another incident dates back to the early 20th century with the story of James Bartley, who allegedly survived being swallowed by a sperm whale. The tale goes that he was found days later in the whale's stomach during a whaling expedition. However, this story lacks verifiable evidence and is widely regarded by scientists and historians as a maritime myth. Such stories are often surrounded by a great deal of speculation and sensationalism. In reality, the physiology of most whales makes it impossible for them to swallow a human. Their throats are not designed to pass large objects, and their diet does not include anything as large as a human. Moreover, whales are generally not aggressive towards humans. Most recorded interactions between humans and whales, especially those involving larger species like the humpback or blue whale, are characterized by curiosity rather than aggression. These incidents, while extremely rare and sensational, often involve misunderstandings or exaggerations. The ocean is a vast and mysterious place, and while it's filled with fascinating tales, the truth is often less dramatic than the myths that endure. Given what we've discussed, how possible is it really to be swallowed by a whale? Let's dive deeper into the anatomy of whales. Most large whales, like the blue whale and the humpback, have throat pleats that expand, allowing them to gulp vast amounts of water and small prey such as krill and small fish. However, the actual size of their throat is surprisingly small, much smaller than you might imagine. In fact, the throat of a blue whale, the largest animal on the planet, is only about as wide as a dinner plate. This dimension makes it physically impossible for such whales to swallow anything as large as a human. Now, considering the diet of these gentle giants further illuminates why a human wouldn't end up on their menu. Whales are filter feeders. They take in enormous amounts of seawater, which they then push out through their baleen plates, trapping tiny sea creatures. This feeding mechanism is designed for small prey, not for large objects or creatures. Moreover, the behavior of whales also supports this point. Whales are generally not aggressive towards humans. There have been instances where whales have approached boats or divers, but these interactions are out of curiosity or playfulness, not aggression or hunger. So when you piece together the puzzle of whale anatomy, their dietary habits, and their generally gentle disposition, the scenario of being swallowed by a whale falls apart. It seems nature has not designed whales to be man-eaters. Today we explored the depths of a question as vast as the ocean itself. Throughout our journey, we delved into the fascinating anatomy of whales, creatures whose sheer size captures the imagination. We learned that despite their gigantic mouths, the throat passages of most whales are surprisingly narrow, too small in fact to allow the passage of a human body. We also examined the diets of these marine giants, primarily consisting of small fish and plankton filtered through their baleen plates. This diet reaffirms the improbability of a whale intentionally swallowing something as large as a human. Furthermore, we touched on the legendary tale of Jonah, a story that blurs the lines between myth and historical accounts, stirring up curiosity and skepticism. And while there have been rare documented cases of humans being engulfed by whales, these are exceptions, not the rule, often involving extraordinary circumstances and typically not resulting in being swallowed. So the next time you hear someone ask if a person can be swallowed by a whale, You'll have the science to debunk the myth.